We're going to continue with more news. The first day of school in Hartford postponed after a ransomware attack crippled critical systems. Both in-person and remote learning were postponed, impacting about 18,000 students. And so far, a new start date has not been announced. Ransomware attacks targeting state and local governments have been on the rise, with cyber criminals seeking quick money by seizing data and holding it hostage until they get paid. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Courtney Zeller spoke to an expert about cyber crimes and how often this is happening. Courtney.
Well, good afternoon, Aaron. Yeah, that's all these criminals want is money. And our expert says he's really not surprised at all this happened today because it keeps happening around the globe. Thousands of Hartford public school students were supposed to be back in the classroom today for the first time since March. But after a ransomware attack targeted their systems, that was put on hold.
We had seen a lot of ransomware attacks against schools in the past couple of years. Things had quieted down a little bit, at the beginning of this year with all the COVID stuff. But in the past 2 weeks, we've seen them up and down the East Coast.
AdNet Technologies Director of Security Services Tim Weber says schools in Miami and North Carolina were recently hit. 15 attacks happened against school systems in August and September of last year in Connecticut. Municipalities have also been attacked in places like Plymouth, Colchester, Portland, Hamden, Middletown, Wallingford, Watertown, Wolcott, and now Hartford.
And it sounds like Hartford had really good backup systems in place, which is absolutely critical, because if you don't have good backups in place, then you're stuck with having to pay the ransom, which nobody wants you to do.
In Hartford, officials say they don't believe private or personal information was stolen in the attack, but Weber says it might be too early to tell.
But in the last, call it year or so, some of the threats have changed that, depending on which version of ransomware, which group perpetrated it, there could be data that was taken, and they've done that as a way to get people to pay, because that's in the end goal. That's what the cyber attacker's goal is.
With more than 200 of the district servers impacted, files have likely become encrypted, and sometimes that forces victims to pay up, as the end goal for these criminals is money.
So cybercrime at this point causes more financial losses than all other organized crime combined. So it's lucrative. It's sadly it's a business model for organizations around the world. And when you get hit with one of these attacks, you don't know if it's somebody down the street in the other part of the state or somewhere else in the globe.
The FBI is now involved in this case. As for preventing this, Weber says municipalities and school districts need to have protection software in place that will pick up on these kinds of threats. Assessments on the software should happen, he says, every year. Live with the mobile newsroom, Courtney Zeller, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.